I can't really remember my mama. Of course, I was just a baby when she left us, me and Daddy, that is. She just left us, and we had to fend for ourselves. At least that's how the story was told to me. Still, I've always had a sense of her, of something warm and loving, something safe and present, and that feeling has helped me through many a long and scary night. And let me tell you, there were plenty of long and scary nights when I needed the help. I used to just lie there in bed and listen to the screams. And then I'd plug my ears best I could when things got really loud toward the end. In truth, I could still hear them though. Some screams are just too powerful to be stopped by putting your fingers in your ears. As I got older though, I got braver. I got to where I'd come out of my room and sneak down to the basement. I'd hide and watch as my daddy would take the pliers and go to yanking on the skin. He'd usually start somewhere on the chest or the stomach, but sometimes he'd start at one of the more private parts. Then they'd really scream. Pretty soon I discovered that once you put the visual to the sound, it wasn't near as scary. In fact, it was kind of exciting. One night I got a little too excited though, and I knocked over an old mop bucket. It went clattering out across the floor and I was caught. I was sure Daddy was going to tan my hide too, but he didn't. Instead, he brought me over to the table and handed me the pliers. Said, "Go ahead, son, take a turn." And that's what he told me. Can you imagine? Go ahead, son. I was so proud. I can't remember ever having been so proud. He was proud too, especially after I took that first patch. It was long and wide, went all the way from the sternum to down below the belly button. That girl, she screamed too. She screamed good and long. I thought just watching was exciting, but being the one holding the pliers, oh, that was better than Christmas morning. I'd found my life's calling. Of course, theirs probably wasn't much else I could do. I'd never been to school, and 36 is probably a little late in life to start your education. I'm fine with it though. I like my life the way it is. Daddy lets me go to church with him every Sunday and listen to him preach. He's a good preacher too. People come from all over to hear him talk on the Gospels. Rich people, poor people, people from the homeless shelter. It doesn't matter to him. They all scream about the same. The Lord don't judge bank accounts, he always tells me. I wonder if I'll ever get the calling to preach, like Daddy.
My friend Bernard is odd in just about every way you could imagine. Any facet of human existence you can think of, he experiences abnormally. Some of it isn't really that big of a deal, like how he often says inappropriate things at inopportune moments. But some of it is more, how can I say, consequential. He's quasi-clairvoyant, for instance, and he doesn't seem to realize how extraordinary that is. He also has a dog named Satan, whom he claims to have recently begun having conversations with. Conversations which have led to some fairly disturbing behavior by Bernard. Anyway, we were hanging out at his house the other day, when all of the sudden, he decided he had to have a particular fishing lure, which naturally was odd, mostly because Bernard had never fished in his life. I didn't object, though, when he said he was going to the local sporting goods store. I merely agreed to sit home and look after Satan until he returned. I was in the midst of an epic game of Zelda anyway, and didn't particularly care to go with him. Once he'd gone, I continued to play my game, and had just finished the snake level when I realized I had an audience. Satan was an English terrier, black with tan points. He'd perched himself on the chair next to mine and was watching my every move as though it was the most interesting thing he'd ever seen. I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but considering the whole conversation thing Bernard had been claiming, being alone in the house with Satan was a little disconcerting. Finally, along with realizing that no one would ever know what I was about to do, I let my imagination have its way. "What are you looking at?" I said to the dog. He just sat there staring, stone-faced. "Don't you have anything to say?" He tilted his head as dogs do. I've known Bernard a long time, and I don't think he'd lie. I waited. Nothing. "I won't tell anyone, I promise." Satan tilted his head the other way, then dropped to a Sphinxian pose. I'll admit, I tried several more times to get Satan to speak, but he never did, not a word. I was glad when I heard Bernard coming up the steps, because frankly, I was getting bored with the whole thing. Bernard came through the front door carrying a baseball bat and a floor lamp. I didn't even ask. I'm sure he'd forgotten about the lure by the time he made it to the store. "You should go now," he said. "I have stuff to do." "Okay." I stopped on the porch to light a smoke, and it was there that I heard one of the most chillingly terrifying things I'm sure I'll ever hear. From inside the house, wafting through a barely opened window next to me, came a deep, gravelly voice that wasn't my friend's. The voice had said but two words: "Kill him."